A French millionaire fled high taxes, a Swedish tech founder dodged loopholes, and Americans lost billions chasing meme coins. Different countries, same outcome, the middle class trapped, the wealthy thriving. Want to know why? These 7 financial traps reveal the hidden patterns. The final one flips everything you thought about money. 7. Credit card debt. It starts small. Maybe $500 swiped for groceries or a new phone. But when the average US credit card charges 22% interest, that $500 doesn't stay $500 for long. In just 3 years, unpaid, it nearly doubles into $1,000. That's the cruel math of compounding, but working against you. In 2023, Americans crossed a record: $1.14 trillion in credit card debt, the highest in history. What's more shocking is that nearly half of cardholders don't pay their balance in full each month. Banks earn billions off late fees and interest, which are designed to trap rather than free. Warren Buffett once joked that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. But for credit cards, it's a nightmare version. Historically, interest was supposed to reward productive capital: farmers planting fields, merchants financing ships, factories creating jobs. Manuel Ayau argued that credit is the oxygen of growth when used for investment. But with credit cards, it punishes everyday consumption. You're paying tomorrow's income for yesterday's coffee. The U.S. Federal Reserve notes that the average household pays over $1,200 annually in interest alone. Money that builds nothing, creates nothing, and only transfers wealth upward. In contrast, when interest is tied to productive loans, it multiplies wealth across society. But here, it simply drains. So the debt snowball keeps rolling, faster each month, crushing middle-class budgets under fees and compounding math, which raises the bigger question. If credit cards are bleeding people dry, what about the quieter enemy that disguises itself as success? The moment your lifestyle expands with your paycheck. 6. Lifestyle. Inflation. The first big paycheck feels like freedom, but soon the old car looks outdated. The apartment feels too small, and vacations start looking shorter than everyone else's on Instagram. This cycle has a name: lifestyle inflation. Every time income rises, spending stretches to match or even outrun it. In the United States today, the personal savings rate is only about 4% of disposable income. Back in the 1980s, households saved closer to 12%. That's not because people in the 80s earned less joy. It's because they resisted spending every new dollar. A study by the Federal Reserve shows that 2/3 of Americans would struggle to cover a $400 emergency expense. Raises vanish not into wealth but into higher bills. The data doesn't lie. Median household income grew about 18% since 2000, yet average home prices more than doubled. College tuition tripled. Healthcare costs rose faster than wages nearly every year. When people feel richer, but their essential costs keep ballooning, that extra paycheck quickly disappears. Economists warn that lifestyle inflation locks people in a treadmill economy, running harder but staying in place. Manuel Ayau would call it a distortion of prosperity, confusing consumption with wealth. Buying a bigger car doesn't make you richer. It just commits you to bigger payments. Here's the sting. Lifestyle inflation doesn't just eat savings, it erases opportunity. Every dollar spent on upgrades is a dollar not invested, not compounding for the future. And once habits scale up, scaling back feels impossible. But what happens when people go beyond lifestyle creep and start borrowing tomorrow's money to fuel today's desires? 5. Payday loans and bad debt. It starts small. Someone borrows $500 to cover rent or groceries. 2 weeks later, they owe $650. That's an interest rate of over 400% APR, a figure so extreme it would make loan sharks blush. In the US alone, about 12 million people use payday loans every year, according to Pew Research. Most of them aren't reckless spenders. They're workers living paycheck to paycheck, often covering basic expenses like food, rent, or utilities. Yet the trap is brutal. The average borrower takes out 8 loans a year, staying stuck in debt for nearly 5 months. This isn't new. Throughout history, desperate borrowing has destroyed communities. In ancient Rome, plebeians fell into debt slavery when interest piled higher than wages. During the Great Depression, farmers lost land when loans were called in, even as crop prices collapsed. Debt meant not just loss of money, but loss of freedom. Manuel Ayau warned that credit should fund productivity, factories, farms, new businesses, not be used to consume tomorrow's earnings today. When credit finances growth, It creates wealth. When it fuels short-term survival, it locks people into poverty cycles. Here's the sting. Payday lenders know the math. They profit more when borrowers fail to escape. In fact, 75% of all fees collected come from people stuck in more than 10 loans per year. It's not a mistake, it's the business model. But payday loans are only one side of the coin. There's a quieter trap that destroys wealth just as effectively, but over decades instead of weeks. 4. Not investing early. The most dangerous trap isn't loud, it's quiet. It doesn't scream like payday loans. Instead, it whispers, "You can start later." That delay is what kills wealth. Here's the math. If you invest $10 a day starting at age 25, by retirement you'll likely have over $1.2 million, assuming an average 8% return, roughly the S&P 500's historical track record. Wait until age 35. You end up with only $550,000. That decade lost costs nearly $700,000. Not because you invested less, but because compound growth didn't have enough time to snowball. This isn't theory, it's history. In 1980, the S&P 500 index was at 110 points. By 2023, it crossed 4,000 points, a return of more than 3,500% with dividends reinvested. Someone who consistently invested through recessions, 1987 crash, dot-com bubble, 2008 collapse, ended up wealthy. Those who waited for the right time usually miss the biggest rebounds. Albert Einstein supposedly called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. Ayao would agree, but he'd add that it only works if capital is allowed to grow productively. Patience, cooperation, and reinvestment are the engines behind long-term prosperity. The real tragedy? Most people don't invest early because they fear risk. Yet, historically, the bigger risk is waiting. Between 1926 and 2020, U.S. stocks had a positive return 94% of the time over any 20-year period. In other words, time beats timing almost every time. But if delaying investment robs the future quietly, there's another thief that works in plain sight, stealing value from your wallet every single day without you even noticing. 3. Keeping all money in cash. Cash feels safe. It sits in your wallet, your bank account, no wild swings like stocks. But safety here is an illusion, because inflation quietly eats away at its power. Take this. In 1980, $100 bought 50 Big Macs. By 2023, that same $100 only bought about 18 Big Macs. Nothing changed about the burger. It's the dollar that lost strength. Since World War II, the US dollar has lost over 90% of its purchasing power due to inflation averaging 3 to 4% annually. This isn't unique to America. Argentina's peso lost over 50% of its value in 2023 alone. In Turkey, inflation hit 85% in 2022, meaning people saw the price of groceries double in less than a year. History shows cash is always at risk of being devalued when governments overspend or central banks overprint. Ayao argued money is just a medium. It only matters if it moves into productive assets. A farm, a business, or even shares in a company keep producing real value while cash shrinks. If you had left $1,000 under your mattress in 1970, today, it would buy what $150 did back then. But if you had put it into the S&P 500, reinvested dividends, it would be worth over $120,000. The bitter truth? Cash may feel like security, but over time it guarantees loss. And while inflation eats quietly, there's another trap that takes your money openly, making you pay interest on things that lose value the second you buy them. 2. High-interest consumer financing. Cars, gadgets, furniture, they all lose value the second you walk out the door. Yet millions of people finance them with interest rates that quietly bleed wealth. A new car, for instance, loses around 20% of its value in the first year and about 60% after 5 years. But the average U.S. auto loan in 2023 stretched to $40,000 with interest rates topping 7%. This isn't just about cars. Buy now, pay later. Schemes exploded during the pandemic. By 2022, more than 360 million people worldwide were using them, with many rolling balances over month to month. The catch? Retailers win by selling faster, lenders win by charging fees, and the buyer pays more for something that was never worth financing. Ayao warned that interest should reward productive investment. Taking on debt to build a farm, start a shop, or expand a business makes sense because the debt funds future value. But when debt is tied to consumption, like cars, phones, or sofas, it transfers wealth from the consumer to the producer. That's why companies push financing so aggressively. It locks in revenue even when the asset itself declines. In 2023 alone, Americans paid over $250 billion in auto loan interest. That's more than many countries spend on healthcare. The sad irony? The car rusts, the furniture fades, but the payments stay. And while this trap is obvious, the next one is trickier because it dresses itself up as opportunity, promising wealth overnight but usually delivering ruin. 1. Chasing get-rich-quick schemes. Fast money stories have existed for centuries, and they almost always end the same way, with a few winners and millions of losers. In 1637, Dutch tulip bulbs sold for the price of a house, only to collapse to near zero within weeks. In 1929, hot stocks had secretaries and shoeshine boys trading on tips, just before Wall Street wiped out $30 billion in a single week. The modern versions are shinier, but no safer. In 2021, Dogecoin turned ordinary buyers into overnight paper millionaires. At its peak, Dogecoin's market cap hit $88 billion, more than Ford Motor Company. By 2022, over 90% of that value had evaporated, leaving many holding bags worth pennies. Meme coins, day trading, and MLM schemes all feed on the same hunger: quick gains without long-term work. IOW's principle cuts through the noise. Wealth doesn't come from gambling or hype, but from serving others efficiently and productively. That's why Levi Strauss, who sold jeans during the California gold rush, built a lasting fortune while most miners went broke. It's the same reason Amazon, born in the dot-com era when thousands of startups crashed, became worth over $1.5 trillion, because it created value consistently. The real danger with these schemes isn't just the money lost, it's the time wasted, the false belief that shortcuts exist. Every year spent chasing mirages is a year lost building real wealth, and that's why IOW's warnings feel timeless. Speculation may glitter, but cooperation and production are what actually last. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden traps that drain wealth, make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. There's always another secret history of money waiting for you in the next video. Don't miss it.